Right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. We are down to the semi-final stages in the Tipperary County Hurling Championship. So, as always, I'm going to preview the games that are coming up this weekend, give my predictions, and just my general thoughts about the game. So, before we get started, if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, be sure to like the video, give us a note, subscribe. We're up to 98 subscribers now. So, I said on the last podcast, if we get to 100 before the county final, let's get those last two, get up into the triple digits. And just a big thanks to all the listeners. Podcast is doing well on Spotify as well, so it's good that people are getting something from the podcast. Anyway, I enjoy doing it myself. So it's probably going to be a much shorter episode this week. Looking ahead to the games, we only have we have 9 games to look forward to in terms of the intermediate, Premier Intermediate, and Senior Hurling Championship. Couple of relegation finals to look forward to as well. We're going to talk through all those, and of course the 3 sets of semi-finals in the top 3 grades as well, and 3 relegation finals, I should say. So that's what we're going to talk about on this week's episode. Be sure to like the video, retweet, and whatever if you click through the link on Twitter and things like that as well. I'm recording this on Tuesday evening. We are at 10 to 8 as I'm recording this Tuesday evening. Recording it a little bit earlier this week, as I was saying on last week's podcast. I'm off to Old Trafford in the morning, heading over to Manchester United and FC Twente in the Europa League. So looking forward to that early rise off to Shannon Airport and the lot. So said I get this done Tuesday evening, and we have a clean run then into the weekend. So where else to start? Only Saturday. We're going to start. Will we go grade by grade? Yeah, let's go grade by grade. So we'll start with the first of the senior semi-finals. This is Saturday, 4:45. The double headers are live on Tip FM as well. I will give a little plug there as well. So Saturday, 4:45, my Carkey Burris against Toomevara. Had a quick look at earlier in the day at the first podcast we done of the year, of the season, when we looked at the pre-season odds, and at that point Toomevara I think were 14 to 1 and my Carkey Burris were 25 to 1. So there was some serious value to be got there if you're looking at the outrights at the start of this season. So I don't think it was the semi-final pairing that anyone would have imagined in terms of, Toomevara were there last year, but my Carkey Burris, this is the first semi-final for them in 40 years. So it's massive. They're coming off that crazy win against Killadangan, which is, the way that game played out, just even looking back on it again, Rhys Shelley pulled off a few great saves. He had Brian Malachny missing a big chance. There was a couple of missed frees from Killadangan. Still hard to wrap your head around how Mike Carkey came away with a win in that game, but they did. And here they are now in a semi-final. And I tell you, they would have been delighted when the draw was made that they got Toomevara. And I'd say likewise with Toom. And that's no disrespect to either of the two teams. I'd say they'd probably tell you that themselves, just to avoid, whoever wins this semi-final is probably more than likely going to be the underdog in the county final. I think that's fair enough to say with how Thurles Sarsfields and Lockmore have played this year, and I suppose their pedigree in recent finals and things like that. Although both Mike Carkey Burris and Toom have plenty of tradition themselves, but in recent times, Thurles and Lockmore have been competing and contesting in far more finals. So this is a huge opportunity for both of these teams. I was talking to the management actually of all the senior semi-finalists today for across the line on Friday night. So I was getting that done early, and yeah, it's everyone is delighted to still be training at this time of the year. The evenings are gone dark. You're hurling under the lights and things like that, and that's when you know that it's getting down to the business end. So this game, I'm really looking forward to it. Toom, I haven't seen any sort of odds for the matches now, but I'd imagine Toom are probably slight favourites. They played each other in the county championship last year, and that was a 122 to 24 points or something like that. It was a 1 point game anyway. Toom won it down in the Rag. Really good game, really tight game. Rory Breslan made a few good saves. I think Rhys Shelley came up and hit a 21-yard free late on, if I'm remembering that correctly. Darren McCarthy was really particularly good in that game. I think he got 1-3 or 1-4. Nailed a couple of big frees as well and things like that. And I remember he won a ball late on to win a free, kind of under the cosh as well. Backs to the wall kind of stuff. Won a big free, so I got a big score underneath the scoreboard in the Rag. So this is a really interesting battle, because as I was saying, both teams are really going to fancy it. There's some really interesting matchups, who's going to pick up Darren McCarthy from my Carkey point of view. You'd be thinking Stephen Walsh maybe, or maybe Tom Ryan, the cornerback, and my Carkey have got, Kieran Cummins, I think, is someone that Toom would be looking at to try and pinpoint and get a handle of. He was really, really good against Killadangan and has been really good all year. And then there's other battles like, Josh McCarthy, maybe Joe Maher, things like that, big physical players. But yeah, really looking forward to this game because I think this should be a pretty open game. I would think Toom now are kind of, they're hard to beat. They're not. I wouldn't say they're defensive or anything like that, but they've a good defense and they're really hard to beat and the tempo they play at and things like that. So, but yeah, what a chance for both of these clubs, like, because for my Carkey, as I was saying, it's 40 years since they're in a county final. For Toomevara, it's 2008 since they were last in a county final. So one of these teams are going to be leaving Semple Stadium on Saturday evening with a lot to look forward to and a lot of history on the line, I suppose. But yeah, this is a tough one to call now. I'd probably slightly favour Toom just because they were here last year, put in a very good account of themselves against Killadangan. For my Carkey Burris, it's a very young team, and there could be that kind of youthful exuberance or whatever you want to call it, or that they won't mind going in here, and they'll be absolutely bouncing in after the way they bet Killadangan, and they'll have so much beliefs that I think this could really be a close game. I'd probably slightly favour Toom, but I would not be surprised if I think one of these games in Semple Stadium will go to extra time. I think definitely one of them, and I do have a fancy for one of the relegation battles to go to extra time as well. We'll get to that later. I think, particularly this game, the Upper Church Cashel game, actually, any of these games could very much go to extra time. I'd say if I'm trying to, get out of Semple Stadium for 6 o'clock to watch Red Zone on Sunday evening, I might have to give it be waiting around, because I think one of these games will definitely go to extra time. Well, not definitely, but I give it a very good chance that one of them will. So I'm kind of stalling on this game because I'm not 100% sure who I think is going to win. I'm going to give it to Toom. I think they were here last year. They'll have that little bit of experience. It's going to be hard for my Carkey to come down off that high. You see it in every sort of sport. Like, I don't know if any listeners are darts fans at all, but back when Phil Taylor was in his pomp, someone would beat him in the World Championships and they'd nearly always lose the next round. It just seems to be a thing that happens in sport. I would not be surprised one bit if my Carkey were able to get it done here, but I'm going to lean Toom, and it's a slight lean. It's a slight lean to Toomevara. This is one I could put down as a draw, but we'll give the slight lean to Toomevara to get back to a county final. So the second semi-final then, this is on Sunday at 4 o'clock, all these in Semple Stadium. Thurles Sarsfields against Lockmore Castleiney. They met last year in the semi-final and it was a really one-sided affair. Thurles were at ease at times in that semi-final, but then they played this year in the mid-championship, and Thurles were up well, and then Lockmore kind of came back in the last 10 minutes as they've done all year and got the win. In my head, I have a feeling Thurles Sarsfields are going to win this game. Why do I think that? I think their defence is just so good. Just all the Mahers back there, Paul, Stephen, Dennis, Ronan Maher. It's just so hard to break that down. And then they're so good at shooting from distance. What they got, like 51 shots off against Nina in the last game. And the way Nina played, I don't think Lockmore will play that standoffish maybe you'd like to see. It's hard to know. Lockmore, albeit they finished very strong against Killarone, it was looking a bit iffy until kind of 2 goals were almost gifted to them against Killarone. Now, of course, they'll say that they put the squeeze on and they put the pressure and forced some of those mistakes, which they probably did, particularly for the second Lockmore goal. But just being at this semi-final last year in Semple Stadium and seeing kind of how one-sided it was in terms of Thurles looked much the better team at the time. And I know that Lockmore beat them in the mid-championship start of the year. Thurles would have come on an awful lot from that. Lockmore would have as well. And it's just in Semple Stadium, Thurles are looking very good. They're so comfortable at shooting from distance. But Lockmore just do have a vibe. There's a vibe about Lockmore that everyone knows is there. that they're never bet and this sort of thing. And they just have such clever players, have a bit of momentum. They beat them in a replay in the 2021 final. Again, all these games hard to predict. I will go with Thurles Sarsfields here, so that means I'm predicting a Thurles Sarsfields Toomey VAR final, a throwback to 2008, the last time they met in the final. But if that's not the final, any other combination of the teams is a very novel final. And if you had a Mike Harkey against Thurles, Mike Harkey against Lockmore, I don't think either of that has happened before in a county final. If you had a Toomey VAR against Lockmore, I'm not sure if that's happened either. So I'm predicting a Toom Thurles final here, but again, in terms of being overly confident, I'm not too sure. Again, a couple of more interesting matchups in this one, like Paddy Creedon, Liam McCormack. Like it's going to be hard to get someone to mark him because he's so quick. But Paddy Creedon, maybe Joey Hennessy or Lorcan Egan probably going to pick him up. But it's Ronan Maher, kind of that role he plays. If he's left free, I don't know, it's going to be very hard to beat him. But then Noel McGrath might drop back as well. But I think that middle third is going to be key, because if Thurles have the freedom that they had the last day, the likes of Stephen Cahill shooting from distance, who else got a couple of points in that first half? Darius Stakelum, Aidan McCormack. They have such good shooters from distance that if they're given that space, Thurles will shoot the lights out like they did the last day. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think Thurles are going to win, but that's just a hunch I have. So we'll go down to the senior relegation final. This is the second of a doubleheader on Sunday in Nina. So it's Lura against Templederry Kenyans. Now, Templederry, as we've mentioned on this podcast all through the year, have just had... I just noticed there it says Kenyans instead of Kenyans. So I don't know if Templederry are getting a few new players maybe from Kenya in for the game, but it's definitely Kenyans. That was just copy and paste now. But Templederry, they've had so much injuries throughout the year. Brian Stapleton, Derek Carey missed out in the last game. Did Adrian Ryan miss out in the last game as well? Liam McCutcheon went off injured in the last game against Ross Gray as well. So they've struggled big time with just getting their best team out in the field. Now, something you're to be hearing that maybe they're going to have their full deck to play from here on Sunday. They'll need it. I fancy Lura for this game. Lura coming in here in much better form than Templederry are. Now, relegation scraps come down. They're just pure one-off games, and kind of both teams tend to have bad form going into them, and form goes out the window, and it just becomes a battle. But I think Lura... I'd fancy Lura here just because they've got great goal scoring ability with the McIntyres, as we've mentioned. Bonner, if you can get him in any ball at all, is in great form. They're coming in off a good performance against Bursley, albeit a loss, and then that win against Holy Cross. So they've better performances stacked up than Templederry. But Templederry, as we mentioned with every Templederry game, they do have the X factor. They do have Sean Ryan. Every game we're saying it, that he can win games. He's doing unbelievable scoring throughout the year, but I will go with Lura to stay up and get another year in senior in that one. But very much interesting. I'll be keeping an eye on that one while I'm commentating the games down in Semple Stadium, no doubt. So that's how I see the senior games going. In terms of confidence in the overall picks, I don't know. It's the Tipperary Senior Hurling Championship. I think we know from this stage that you could never be overly confident in any of your selections. So we'll drop down to the Premier Intermediate Championship now. The semi-finals, the first one on Saturday at 3 o'clock in Semple Stadium. Upper Church Rumban against Cashel Kincormac. So I said before the draw was made that this was the matchup I wanted to see. Both of these teams were the favourites at the start. In that first podcast, we looked at the pre-tournament odds, and it was Upper Church 1 and Cashel 2, and then they both lost on the opening round. But they both bounced back well. Upper Church with that win over Aero Gannacarthy the last day. Cashel with the preliminary quarterfinal win over Boherlahan, and then they blew Thurles Sarsfields away. So Cashel are going to be absolutely bouncing into this. And Upper Church, albeit they won that game, they played kind of poor in that second half against Gannacarthy. They were playing with the wind and they let up a 5 or 6 point lead. Now they did finish strong, all that being said. But God, I'm really looking forward to this game now. I think Cashel are just on such good form. Ronan Connolly, Owen Connolly is really taking a leap this year for Cashel. Ross Bonner, what form he's in. He's scored 2-4 the last day. I was calculating it up there yesterday. I think he's 4-10 or something like that scored, or maybe more. 4-15 is in my head. That feels like that's high, but that's what I think he might have got during this championship so far. So he's on unbelievable form. And then Cathal Quinn, Conor Dwyer there as well. Really solid team. Upper Church, all the Ryans that they have, and Paul and Luke Shanahan as well, and Paddy Green in there as well, and Gavin Ryan and the Grants. This is going to be a really interesting game, probably similarly to the Thurles and Lochmore game. I think the winner of this game will go into the Seamus O'Reen final, will go into the final as favourites. So this is a massive game. Again, as mentioned, one of these games is going to go to extra time. I think this very much probably could be one of them. I'm trying to think which kind of team would prefer the wide open spaces in Semple Stadium. Like Cashel, I feel like it would have been a while since Cashel played. They did play Portrush in a game there 2 years ago. I do remember that. So it's not too long since Cashel have played in Semple Stadium. Upper Church would have been there in a county semi-final 2 years ago, senior. So, there are no strangers to the place either. So really looking forward to this game. I think these big games kind of come down to, if you can have a star player. I think Cashel probably have the more star players. It's a big step for this Cashel team. They're blown out of it in the semi-final last year, so I'm sure they'll be all guns blazing for this game. I think I might go Cashel here. Upper Church surely will be the favourites going into this, but I think I might go Cashel Kincormacs to get the job done. I backed them in terms of on this podcast against Thurles Sarsfields that it was going to be like kind of a coming out performance for them, and I think they'll take an awful lot from that once they have the right mentality going into the thing. So I will go with Cashel there for that one. But again, Upper Church, would I be surprised if they won? Well, absolutely not. They're a really good team as well. So I'll just give a slight lean to Cashel Kincormacs there in that one. So then on Sunday at 2:15, we have Gartnahoe Glengool against Carrick Swan. Carrick Swan coming in, beating my own Burgess the last time out, and Gartnahoe blowing St Mary's out of the way with 3 goals in 3 minutes in the first 10-15 minutes of that game in Clonalty, and there's quarter-final. Gartnahoe finalists 2 years ago, Carrick Swan. I'm going to have to try and find out before I do commentary on this game, and if you know, if you're from Carrick Swan, or if you just know, I'm not sure when the last time Carrick Swan played in Semple Stadium was. Gartnahoe lost out to Roscrea 2 years ago in the final. And, on another day could have won that game. Darrell Ryan is the Roscrea goalkeeper. He made some unbelievable saves in that game when it was, and if they had gone into the back of the net, it could have been a different story. So, they've played there before. They're used to this stage of the tournament. Carrick Swan, you feel like it's kind of new territory for them. A lot of young players in terms of your Callum Lanigans, Callum Walsh, Aaron O'Halloran, and all these fellas are still young players, but they're just playing really, really well. Gavin O'Halloran leading things there from centre back. Danny O'Hanlon coming off the bench and just pure mercurial stuff. I'm hoping he comes on, or I'm not sure if he's going to start or anything like that, but I'm hoping he comes on at least, just to see him. I love those stylish type of players. Kind of plays the game at his own pace, so skillful. Love watching that kind of player. So it's hard to know who's going to win this game. Like Gartnahoe have been flying it as well. Damien Corbett with 2 goals the last day. Darren Maher, Adrian Maher as well. Ronan Tehan seems to be a huge push on for them since he's come back. I think was he in Australia for a year or two. He's back. Big fan of their fullback is David Nolan. Real powerful coming out with the ball. Keane Hayes as well there as well. So there's so much talent on show in this game. I've seen Carrick Swan in the flesh a couple of times this year, so I might go with them. But again, maybe this is a game that goes to extra time in the Semple Stadium games this weekend. Let's do that. Let's give that as a draw. We'll go with a draw at that. If you really had to push me, I might lean Carrick Swan, but we're going to go with the draw. We're not going to be able to circle back on the review podcast on Monday and say, oh, well, I kind of thought Carrick's were going. No, we're going with a draw. We'll go to draw in that game. We'll drop down to the Premier Intermediate relegation final. This is Newport against Sean Tracy's in Nenagh on Sunday at 1:30. So again, that's the double header in Nenagh on Sunday, the Premier Intermediate and Senior relegation finals. Newport against Sean Tracy's. This is like relegation final heaven. This is what it is. This is two teams, neighbouring clubs, fighting for their life to try and stay up. This is it now. And I remember I said at the start that I think one of the relegation finals is going to be a draw. I'm going to put it down already. I think this is going to be a draw. I think this is going to come right down to it. Newport have had improvements in their performances the last few times. They lost out to Mine Temple in the semi-final. Sean Tracy's had Silvermines really on the ropes in that last game. Got that really unlucky, in my opinion, red card. Was it Jody Ryan who got sent off? I'm not sure if they appealed that. I kind of feel like if they did appeal it, they would have had a very good case to get him back for this game. So I think Sean Tracy's, they played so well in that game that they'll take a lot from that, especially down to 14 men. If I have a lean in this one, it's Sean Tracy's. Newport survived, with that, what was it, against Portrush last year in the final with that block on the goal line from the 21-yard free, and it was literally blocked on the line an inch from being relegated. And I think I have a draw down, but now as I'm talking, I think Sean Tracy's could do it. I think the way I'm talking, I think Sean Tracy's are going to win. I have a draw written down. I think I'm going to turn it. I'm going to lean with Sean Tracy's to get out of it. As I mentioned the last day, though, Newport are going really well underage. So if they could just stay up for another year or two, they'll be thinking to get this kind of new crop of youngsters coming through. That'll be a huge shove on for them. But I think you probably have to maybe lean with Sean Tracy, just given the level of their performance against the Silvermines the last day. So we're going to go with Sean Tracy there. I did have a draw originally down, but we'll go with Sean Tracy's to save their bacon there. But again, that is going to be a real relegation battle. That's going to take on a life of its own, no doubt. So looking forward to seeing how that game goes. But I'll give a slight lean to Sean Tracy's there in that one. So then we go to the Intermediate Championship semi-finals. We have both of these on at 12 o'clock on Sunday. In Cashel, we have Golden Kilfeacle against Ballingarry, and at the same time in the Rag, it's Moneygall against Kappa White. We'll go with the Moneygall game first. As I said, they're my favourites for the championship. I think they're going to win that game. Kappa White, albeit brilliant win over Bursakane in the quarter-finals in Bursalee, but Moneygall bet Portrush in the quarter-finals. They've just been going so well. It's really hard to see past them in this semi-final, so we will go with Moneygall to win that one. Kappa White beat Shannon Rovers, I should say. Who bet Bursakane? That was Golden Kilfeacle who bet Bursakane. So yeah, Kappa White bet Shannon Rovers in extra time. I will go with Moneygall to win that one. And then Golden Kilfeacle against Ballingarry. This is a real 50-50 game. This is very much another one that could end in a draw. Golden Kilfeacle finalists last year, going really well. Ballingarry absolutely flying it this year. Bet Knockavilla Kickham's in the quarterfinals in a real tight game. Dylan Walsh shooting the lights out for Ballingarry at the minute. I think I'm going to go with Golden Kilfeacle here. They're finalists last year. They seem to be going from strength to strength. Jack Leamy and the likes in great form. I'm going to go with Golden there, but again, that's the one I could see being a draw. And I don't want to be saying that for every game here, but we'll go down to the intermediate relegation final. This is Sunday, 1 o'clock in Bansha. Ballybacon Grange against Upperchurch Strumban. Upperchurch's second team, of course. So I will go with Ballybacon here. I haven't seen Upperchurch's second team really, but Ballybacon did get a win in this championship. They tend to keep it, low. I think this will be a low-scoring affair, a real true relegation battle. I will go with Ballybacon Grange just to get out of that one against Upperchurch Strumban. But again, that's just, there's no real conviction in that. I will go Ballybacon though. So those are my predictions pretty much. I said it would be a much shorter episode. We're 25 minutes in. So I have Cashel to beat Upper Church, Toom to beat my Carkey Burrs. So I've gotten Who Carrick Swan to be a draw. I've Thurles Sarsfields to beat Lockmore, Golden Kilfeacle to beat Ballingarry, Moneygall to beat Kappa White. Then in the relegation battles, Ballybacon Grange to beat Upper Church, Sean Tracy's to beat Newport, and Laura to beat Templederry Kenyans. That's how I see it going. Again, that Newport Sean Tracy's game, I'm nearly circling back to the draw on that one, but we'll go with Sean Tracy's for that. So really looking forward to these games. The double headers in Semple Stadium I'll be doing live on Tip FM over the weekend if you're out and about at some of the other games or want to tune in. We'll be keeping you up to date. Of course, with the live commentary of the games, but also what's happening around the county as well in the other games. So massive weekend ahead. Really looking forward to it. And yeah, as I said, like the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube, give us a good retweet and that sort of thing on Twitter if you can, and spread the good word. Almost at 100 subscribers on YouTube, so let's try and get to that. The review podcast probably going to be Monday evening. I won't get it in time on Sunday evening, so it probably will be Monday evening. So you can expect the review podcast then. So that's pretty much it. Off to Old Trafford tomorrow, back on Thursday, and then it's all guns blazing for the weekend of hurling in Tipperary. Really looking forward to it. And yeah, we'll talk to you on Monday, looking back on all these games. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.